used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected. Yeah. That woke is a word used by the Black community to note...
Had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left? Watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas? That straightened me up pretty quick. And originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want, because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't want to call it the super far left.
Few topics in modern political discourse ignite as much controversy as the ongoing debate over wokeness. For comedian and commentator Bill Maher, the term signifies a cultural shift that has veered away from traditional liberal values into something more extreme.
But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a joke. But,
too dark.
Well, maybe it is, but it's true. I mean, you know, if I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas, that straightened me up pretty quick. I mean, it's just astounding to me that they can't tell the good guys from the bad guys. I mean, just morally. I mean, let me tell you, if you're for Hamas, just live in Gaza for a day. And I'm not talking about while the war is on. I mean, before the war. Trust me, you would go running and screaming and begging to live in Tel Aviv. A place that has your values.
In contrast, Sunny Hostin, co-host of The View, sees woke as an essential concept rooted in Black activism and the fight against social injustice. Their recent exchange laid bare the broader cultural conflict shaping America today.
I mean, women have no, I mean, this is a show watched by a lot of women. Women have no rights in this place, and a lot of majority Muslim countries around the world. I mean, there is no equal rights as far as speech, dress, opportunities for education, reproductive rights, freedom from sexual violence, freedom from sexual harassment.
The LGBTQ community.
I mean,
yes.
You that too. But you throw around the term apartheid. There is a gender apartheid in a lot of the world, where women are second-class citizens. At best, ridiculous, but it's a war.
Why?
It's a war. Because it's a war, and they were attacked, and they're defending themselves. Now, this is a war. Do you think Hamas needs to be...
With Maher delivering biting critiques and Hostin defending progressive ideals, their discussion exposed deep ideological rifts on issues like political correctness, the Israel-Palestine conflict, and the trajectory of the Democratic Party. A key point of contention in their debate was the evolution of the term woke. Hostin emphasized its origins in the Black community as a call for awareness and justice.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And it's narrative over truth. You know, I mean, it's not like when I hear people talk on either side of it, I always think they're lying. They're just telling me half of it. And I never trust them anywhere until I check out the other half. There's old school liberals, which I would mostly count myself as, old school conservatives. There's still some of those left.
You've changed, though.
Wait, what are the other two? Go ahead.
Well,
what are the other two?
Well, that's what I. Well, that's what I was trying to find out in this book. I don't think I have. And you know, we were saying in the break we have to come up with a new word for woke. Let's have a contest, because this is a word that's triggering. But I mean, those concepts that are different than they were 5 years ago was a term that I thought we kind of came up with because people were calling them bums and vagrants and hobos. Homeless. Now, no.
It's unhoused.
Well, it's people experiencing homelessness. But they're experiencing it on the street. Okay, the liberal view of that was for compassion's sake. We're the liberals, we're compassion. Let's get these people off the street. That's not the view of the, whatever word we're gonna come up with for this. Their view of the homeless is they're an endangered species that needs to be protected in their natural habitat, living their best life under a bridge.
Maher acknowledged this history, but argued that the term has since been co-opted and now represents a form of ideological extremism that often alienates moderate Americans. Maher clarified that he never claimed wokeness was destroying everything, but warned that its more radical manifestations could drive centrist voters toward Trump in 2024. He cited instances where progressive activism had backfired, reinforcing conservative narratives about liberal overreach and intolerance. Maher focused on what he sees as the growing radicalization within the left, particularly in its stance on Israel and Hamas. He expressed concern that many progressives appear to support groups like Hamas, despite their fundamental opposition to liberal values. For Maher, this shift represents a dangerous departure from the left's historical commitment to democracy, women's rights, and individual freedoms. He highlighted the contradiction in supporting movements that do not uphold Western democratic principles. Many of the same people who criticize Israel would not want to live under Hamas rule, Maher stated. He argued that while Israel has its flaws, it aligns more closely with American values than Hamas, which enforces strict limitations on women's rights, free speech, and religious freedom. A significant part of Maher's argument centered on women's rights. He contrasted the freedoms women enjoy in Israel with the restrictions faced in many Muslim-majority countries, accusing progressives of turning a blind eye to these stark disparities. He argued that woke activists often prioritize ideological purity over consistent advocacy for human rights. Hostin countered by shifting the focus to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. He described traditional liberalism as pragmatic and focused on solutions, whereas he sees modern progressivism as performative and counterproductive. One example he cited was homelessness. Maher argued that classic liberals sought to provide housing and services, whereas today's activists often resist policies aimed at addressing the crisis, instead defending the right to live on the streets. This, he claimed, illustrates the broader shift from practical problem-solving to ideological posturing. Throughout the discussion, Maher's points received strong audience support, indicating that many viewers share his skepticism toward the excesses of woke culture. While Hostin made impassioned counter-arguments, she often found herself on the defensive, struggling to dismantle Maher's critiques. Ultimately, the debate highlighted the significant ideological divide within the left. With the 2024 election approaching, these internal tensions could have far-reaching consequences for the Democratic Party. Whether Maher's concerns prove justified remains to be seen, but his critique of modern progressivism is clearly resonating with many Americans. The exchange between Maher and Hostin underscores a broader ideological struggle within the Democratic Party and progressive movements. While both figures identify as liberals, their conflicting views reveal a deep divide between those who advocate for pragmatic reform and those who push for sweeping change. This divide extends into electoral politics. Many centrist Democrats worry that embracing extreme progressive positions could alienate moderate voters, jeopardizing key elections. Conversely, progressives argue that their approach is necessary to address systemic injustices and that failing to pursue bold reforms risks maintaining the status quo. A generational divide also plays a role in this tension. Older liberals like Maher, who grew up in the era of civil rights activism and policy-driven debates, view today's activism as excessive and counterproductive. Younger progressives, however, see their efforts as a continuation of historical struggles, believing that gradual change is insufficient to address urgent social issues. Another major point of discussion was political correctness and its impact on free speech. Maher, a vocal critic of cancel culture, argued that modern progressivism often suppresses open discussion by branding opposing views as offensive. He warned that this creates an atmosphere of fear, where people hesitate to speak honestly, leading to resentment and backlash. Hostin, however, she contended that holding individuals accountable for harmful rhetoric is not the same as silencing free speech. Maher countered that there is a fine line between accountability and censorship, and that progressives frequently fail to recognize the distinction. As Maher and Hostin's debate illustrated, the struggle for the soul of the Democratic Party is far from settled, and its resolution will play a pivotal role in shaping America's political future.